So, new names are linked as Crystal Palace are selling a centre-back, but it's not Marc Guehi and it's not to Newcastle. Hello team, welcome back to Newcastle Fans TV. Late last night it was announced that Fulham have agreed a deal with Crystal Palace to sign Joachim Anderson. So what does that mean for Newcastle in their pursuit of Marc Guehi? Well, it still says there's not been a breakthrough in talks, but talks are ongoing. But we're finally looking at alternatives, and two new names have been linked last night from David Ornstein in The Athletic. Now, the first one is sort of less inspiring, and it's a name we've been linked to before he joined Chelsea, and that is Axel Disasi, who has been sort of less than impressive, let's face it, since joining Chelsea. It's a complete circus at Stamford Bridge, as we well know. I think reports were coming out that Tosin has even been left out of their Conference League squad, which is absolutely crazy. Look, Disasi would be a bit of a disaster, especially when Trevor Chalobah's there to take, and he would be a better option than Disasi and Joe Gomez as well. Joe Gomez does absolutely nothing for me whatsoever. However, Tapsöber from Bayer Leverkusen does do something for me, and I think it would be a fantastic signing. Florian Petterberg, Sky's man in Germany, did say, however, that a move to Saudi was potentially on the cards for Tapsöber. 25-year-old centre-half, a big part of Bayer Leverkusen's unbeaten season last season. In fact, Tapsöber himself saved the record with a late equaliser against Augsburg towards the back end of the season. Really good centre-back, would be such a natural fit, a natural replacement for Fabian Schär. 6'4", good height, my height. Quite quick for a centre-back, fairly skillful, so looks to be able to slot right into Fabian Schär's place, really. We know Schär's going to miss the next 3 games, and still no word on whether an appeal has been lodged. The more I look at it, at Schär's incident, the more I think we've got a case for an appeal, but that's in the past now. And it will probably be Burnham Craft at Bournemouth on Sunday. Tapsöber, though, would be fantastic. Fee-wise, I think he's got 2 years left on his current deal at Leverkusen. You're probably looking at 40 million, which, again, is a lot of money, but 30 million cheaper than Guehi, and they're actually quite similar in ability and potential, I think, in my opinion. In terms of PSR, how far does that go? Me and Johnny spoke to Mark Douglas of The Eye on Monday night, and he'd just done a piece with Kieran Maguire about Newcastle United's current PSR situation. Here's what he had to say.
So we chatted today. In terms of the budget at the moment, the first year's losses, the 70 million losses, are going to drop off for next June. So Newcastle, they've got one loss of 70 million. The reason I spoke to Kieran Maguire today was because I thought he'd be able to do a good job of kind of summarising what he thinks is going to happen this year. Now, he thinks there's going to be a fairly benign loss this year. Maybe, they might even kind of almost break even this year with the amount of sales that they've got as well. At the moment, they look like they could break even. Obviously, we know they're going to go and sell. They're going to go and buy somebody. From PSR reasons, anything that they buy can be amortized over the length of their contract. So they could potentially do 2 deals between now and the summer. One, if they get Guehi in for 70 million, that would be 14 million over the cost of 5 years. They've probably got about 20, 30 million pounds worth of headroom. So that would leave you maybe 6 million in terms of headroom. But obviously that's amortized over 5 years, if you're still with me. So that would be 30, a roughly equivalent a signing of about 30 million pounds. Obviously, it's all kind of rough estimates because we don't exactly know the figures that Newcastle have got. So then you ask the question, do they need to sell further players to make it worth their while to go back into the market? Do they take the risk of running it as close as they did last June? Those are all the questions that I'm assuming that they're coming up against, because what we're hearing is that probably if it's Guehi, it would probably just be Guehi unless they manage to sell players, and then there would be options open for right wing. But it's quite interesting. I think that there would still be headroom there to go out and sign another player. the noises that are coming back from Newcastle are that they probably wouldn't do something big alongside Guehi. It would probably be something where, could they do a loan to buy or something like that? Obviously, there are options with Chelsea because we know that they will need to move players on. I mean, who knows what's going on at Chelsea? Like, I'm glad I'm not doing a podcast about Chelsea because I wouldn't be able to explain anything to do with it. The other thing, of course, with Newcastle at the moment is that they're probably waiting for what's happening with Manchester City's associated party transactions tribunal, because if that becomes an option and then they can start to bring in some further sponsorship deals, does that then open the door in January? Because you've also got to think about January, haven't you? If you've got no money at all to spend in January and they get the injuries that they got this year, then you're kind of asking yourself, what do you do? Personally, I would like to see some reinforcement at right wing, and I think I would still like to see Guehi. I think I put a poll up on my X account at the weekend saying, would you do the deal at the price that Palace are asking? And it was kind of roughly 50-50. And I understand that because Guehi at the moment, if you paid 75 million or 70 million for Guehi, and I think this is probably the conversation and the thoughts that Newcastle are having as well, is he's never going to probably appreciate in value from that amount. Man United went and bought Harry Maguire. They were never going to get that money back. They bought Harry Maguire to be their player for the next 3 years. Guehi that would essentially be a investment in trying to finish as high as you can in the league this year. They haven't done any business like that. Obviously we talk about the big signings that they've made. It's probably only Trippier that they've signed for the here and now, because all the other big signings are pretty much, Isaac you're going to get, 63 million, but you're probably going to double your money. I personally wouldn't sell it. I wouldn't sell him for anything less than, I've said, it sounds weird, but 200 million, even in this flat market.
So interesting stuff, really. If Tapsöber, for example, or whoever the centre-back we bring in, Newcastle are adamant they will bring in a centre-back, and there's only 9 days left to do so in the transfer window. If you were going to sign them on 5-year deals, as Mark Douglas said there, you're looking at about 30 million fee for a right winger. What does that get you these days? Probably not a vast amount, unless you're... I see fans online clamouring for Mbeumo. I'm not against that. Will you get him for 30 million? I doubt it. If you're Brentford, you're probably going to be looking at 40 to 50, potentially. So there would be scope to do that were we to sign a Tapsöber, Burkina Faso international. The kind of stigmatism around signing African players now is a thing of the past, because the big issue was, they're going to miss a month of the season every now and again, or a month or two because of the AFCON. That's now being moved, so there's no real issues surrounding African players anymore, really, because if you sign someone, you want them available for the maximum amount of time. It would be a fantastic signing, it really would. It would be a cheaper option, similar in ability. There's always a question mark from signing talent from outside the Premier League. Can they adapt? And the fact is, he's had 3-4 seasons in the 3.5 seasons in the Bundesliga. Took to it like a duck to water. I would have no qualms whatsoever about putting him straight into the side. Long term, Tapsöber and Botman would be a very, very exciting partnership for the foreseeable. I just hope it's someone of that ilk rather than Joe Gomez, who's no longer a man of potential. Really, he's 27. It's kind of now or never, and I would feel very, very underwhelmed. It's a huge 9 days for Newcastle United. The window so far has not been good. We're underway in the season and things need to start happening. As I say, 9 days to go. Paul Mitchell has his work cut out. Hopefully there's a breakthrough. Whether we sign Guehi, whether we sign Tapsöber, I don't mind. There's pros and cons to both deals. Obviously the cons with Guehi are largely surrounding the fee and how much would be left over for a right winger. But both very, very talented players indeed. I'd be happy with either of them. I don't think I'd be overly chuffed with Disasi. I've told you my feelings on Joe Gomez. Trevor Chalobah, that would do. That would do nicely, I suppose. But yeah, it's a frustrating time. It really is. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Smash the like, as always. But yeah, go and check out bits and pieces on Tapsöber. He's a very impressive player, bags of potential, 25 years of age. And yeah, would be a very, very good signing indeed. Obviously, I showed you my alternatives the other week. I'm a bit annoyed I didn't put Tapsöber in there to be honest. And would probably still be cheaper than the one like your Diamandes of this world, your Antonio Silvas. So it would be a shrewd deal, and he's better than Thiago from Milan. If you were going to sign a centre back from Milan, why wouldn't you sign Tomori? Thiago doesn't do a great deal for me, but Tapsöber definitely does. So it's going to be a very, very interesting week or so. You would hope there's movement and some closure on this situation within the next week. But let me know your thoughts. Who do you want coming in to fill that centre-back void at Newcastle United? Like and subscribe as always, and stay tuned to Newcastle Fans TV.